Hey, Rod at East Coast Lumberjack. Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to talk about making a hex handle. And usually I'm in a pretty good mood. Usually I'm pretty easygoing, pretty happy guy. But today we're making a hex handle, and it's not just an ordinary hex handle. It's a 36-inch octagonal double bitter. Okay. And normally, because I take a lot of time to make my handles from scratch. So I split them out all by hand. I dry my bolts for a year, my hickory bolts for a year. My ash didn't take too long, a month, maybe two. I've got actually some ash outside in the trailer. I left it out in the sun the last week or so. I just split it out, just got it. And there's some lateral checks in it. Now, thankfully, ash doesn't check too deeply laterally, but it dried pretty quick. Anyhow, to make a hex handle, you gotta have straight lines, okay? So the hex handle is basically, I cut my bolts so that they're square on the sides, square on the top and bottom. So they're basically like a piece of this here, okay? So they're like, okay, they're flat on all four sides. And then, to make a good hex handle, you have to take those corners off, and they've got to be straight. Okay, they don't have to be, but if they're not, you're gonna spend a heck of a lot of time making a hex handle. Okay, so you need to take the time to make them straight. Now, let me take you to my world today. Okay, the old East Coast Lumberjack is not a happy camper today. Okay, now number one, it's a 36-inch. You gotta have a long bolt. Now, I usually dry my handles, I split them out 36-inch, cut them off 36-inch, split them out that way. But then what you have to do is you have to watch for this. If you get too close to the end and you've got a drying check, okay, and you get it in the handle, okay, now that's usable, okay, that's usable. And I might have been able to cut a little bit more off of that and send that out as number one. But right in the middle of the handle, okay, you don't see this from the outside of the bark, and so obviously something scuffed that tree at some point in its life, and here it is, my nice long 36-inch, pretty cotton picking straight. Everything's nice about this thing except that and that. So guess what? It goes on the right-hand side of the bench because it's not number one handle. It's got a couple things wrong with it. So it's got issues. Okay, this handle has issues, and the old East Coast Lumberjack has some issues because of the issues. So okay, so that was my first one. So it ticks you off because you spent 20 minutes trying, and again, it's a hex handle, right? Now, most of my handles I can pretty easily make straight just by following my lines and stuff. Everything goes along pretty good. But on a hex handle, if you take your time to make it nice and beautifully straight, and my blades, I know I need to replace my blades. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 blades left, so I probably need to order some more blades here before long. Bandsaw blades for my King bandsaw. This goes over here. Okay. So nice long one. So what do? You go back to the drawing board. So I shuffle through the pile. I find another nice straight piece of wood, and I cut it out. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's over here. Now it's pretty straight, which is good. It's pretty straight. But as I'm making the handle. I notice that I've gouged out, when I did my lines, okay, see how that went in here deep? Okay, it went in too deep. So if it does that, if you're making a hex handle, and your side pieces gouge in too deep, you've got to flatten this more, okay, because you want to make those side pieces straight the whole way down. That line needs to follow straight the whole way down your handle. Well, that ain't going to happen on this, okay, because it goes in. It goes in right here a ways, comes back out, and you need to flatten it down to bring that back out to be in a straight line. And if you do that, of course, then you've got a wow in your handle this way. So number 2 is gone. And the old East Coast Lumberjack is starting to spit nails, okay? So again, I started with this one, rounding it. And then I realized, you know, I was going to make it for another person because I have two, actually, I thought 36-inch length handles, double bitters. Now, the other thing I need to confess, I'm way behind, okay? And I don't know what I did to my shoulder. I'm pretty sure I hurt it putting on my seat belt and tucking my belt in. But man, my shoulder muscle is killing me. So, and then of course I got a whole reef of tree jobs. So I was out every day. There was good weather. A young guy was able to come with me, so I had to kind of make hay while the sun shone. And I got behind. So I'm almost 2 months behind right now in the shop, which is abnormal for me. And usually when I get behind, I can call my son, Ben, who's going to be the next East Coast Lumberjack, and he comes down and cuts me out a pile of handles, gets me caught up a bit. Well, Ben's back to work at DNR, so he's back to work as a ranger, and he ain't coming here. So it's only me. And running the spoke shave with his shoulder, I can't believe, it's funny, I can lift heavy stuff, and I don't, if you know what's wrong with my shoulder, let me know, because it's the small twitch muscles. It's the little stuff I'm doing that pains my shoulder. I can lift a boulder. It doesn't. I had to train the guys at the Steel Timber Sports training camp last weekend, and yeah, no problem doing that. You know, lugging the stanchions on the truck and lugging blocks around, but when it comes to small stuff, this little tedious stuff, it hurts like the devil. Anyhow. So there's handle number 2, gone. But it's straight. It is straight, and I can round it. So I mean, you can make a handle like that if you can make it oval, not a problem. Okay, which I'm doing with this one. Okay, started that side, but I got to get some orders out, so this is going to hang till I need it. So usually I wait a day to cool off because I get bent backwards. And I was bent around backwards. So I waited. So today's the day. Okay, this happened on the weekend. Before the weekend, actually. So I get bent around backwards. So I waited till I cooled off. So here's my new one. Okay, here's my new hex handle. Now you can see from the butt, she's pretty even there. And if you look down the lines, it's a nice straight handle. Okay, it's nice and straight this way. It's nice and flat this way. So I've taken my time to get my lines all on there nice and well. Now there seems to be just a little bit of a sweep on this side. So all I'll do is just put that underneath my bench, or on my bench vise, and give it a pry. Okay. And see, it's not out much. So it's right there straight. So that could be just because when I was cutting my side pieces off, one of them, when I was done, had a little bit of a loop in it. So I know there's a little bit of tension in that handle. So I'm just going to bend that back where I want it. And again, it takes nothing to do that, right? It's right there. So that should hold. Now, I'm going to show you how to finish a hex handle. I figured when it come out fairly decent. Now, the other thing that happened when I ran it through the bandsaw, because again, it's an older blade, and of course I try to get as many handles out of a blade as I can. Okay, blades cost whatever, I don't know, $20 a blade. So you know, the more handles you get out of it, the better, more cost effective you are. So I try to do that. But because I had a few little wiggles in it, when you go and turn it on its side and take those corner pieces off, it follows that along. So then not only is your side get a little bit of a wiggle in it, and again with a bandsaw, you know, you're not cutting on a table saw with a nice rigid blade. It's a bandsaw. So you are going to get, and the sharper the saw is, actually, I'll tell you two things. A couple secrets from the East Coast Lumberjack. A new blade, it'll take off on you because it's cutting so well. You just wiggle that little piece of wood somewhere and it's gonna cut it. Once you get a few cuts on a bandsaw blade, then it'll track pretty straight for the next, I don't know how many days you use it. And then when it starts getting dull and you're forcing it, and you can tell when bandsaw blades are getting dull because you got to put a little bit more grunt when you're running that through the blade. When that happens, it can take off on its own. Because what happens is not all the blades are dull. So you're pushing it to get through those, sorry, not all the teeth are dull. And when you're pushing that a little bit, when it hits those sharper teeth, it'll take a little bit of a on you. So you'll say, what's that? It's when the blade goes where it wants to go. That's a So what I did, I took it out when it was four-sided. I took it out and I used my Sureform, okay, Stanley Sureform, because it's nice and flat on the bottom. And I just went down the handle, so I'll bring you down. I went down the handle, so I set it on like this. And I come down the handle, and it takes off those high places, okay? It takes off the high spots. So I did that when it was four-sided to square it up, so it was nice and straight the whole way down. Then I went back to the bandsaw. I draw lines. I take a pencil, just so you know. You may want to make these yourself. Save me doing it. So you're finding out why, you know, everybody must, you know, gee, an octagonal handle, why does that cost so much more? Because it takes a stinking lot of time. That's why. So you put your pencil on, and you hold it just like a carpenter would, and you draw that line down the whole way down the side of your blank. Okay, so that gives you a nice. It gives you a straight line that follows because your finger is tracking along the side of your edge. If it's a straight edge, you're going to get a straight line. If it wobbles in a little bit, your line's going to follow those wobbles. Okay, so it makes sense to take it out. So, big trick this week from East Coast Lumberjack: if you're making a hex handle, make sure it's square. It's nice and straight the whole way down. And what that means is once you get it four-sided, you may have to take it out, bring it to the bench, and straighten those four sides. So if they're straight as a die, draw your lines on, then go back to your bandsaw and follow those lines straight down. Now the other thing, the other secret from the East Coast Lumberjack, to help you out making a hex handle, so that I don't have to make them, is when you hold that on your bandsaw, you can, if you just wiggle it a little bit out of line, you're going to go from a true 45 to maybe a 50 or 60 degrees. So, okay, and that'll change. So it'll change if you're wobbling it. So at this end, at your eye end, you really want to taper it a lot. So you're going to hold it almost up straight, okay? When you start down through your bandsaw, and then once you get down there, you want to roll it so it's a 45, okay? Once you go past the neck here, roll it so it's at a 45, and I'll tell you why. If you have a 45 on this angle on your bevel, like I have right here, if it's a little bit one way or the other, it's easy to correct. However, if you bring it steeper, it cuts more into your flat surface, and then you've got that big wow I just talked about that you've got to take the top way down to make up for it. And if it's too deep, you can't do it. Your handle will not be true. It'll not be perfect. And when I make a hex handle, I look down every one of those lines to see how straight they are. Okay. And when I just got a text message, I'm trying to read it. So you want to get them straight. So when I look down them, if there's a little bit of a wow, then of course I'll take it out. And usually there's enough. You know, if I'm close enough, it doesn't take much, and I can get those nice and straight. Okay. Now, so the last two are bring down a little bit more because I want to show you how I finish these off. So you're going to use your spoke shave, okay? So my old Lee Valley spoke shave is getting its work out. Now sometimes these spoke shaves get a little, and I know it's getting dull, okay? So I know I need to sharpen this thing. But when it gets a little bit dull, it starts packing up some shavings over here on the side, and then you're always loosening and unloosening your little top piece here, taking this off, blowing all those shavings out, and then putting it back together. Now, drives me nuts because of this, okay? Back when the kid was in high school, I was working at a sawmill out in Rolling Dam with my Uncle Larry Matson. We were cutting wood for his house, and I was running a cutoff saw. And once I got the hang of it, like, of course, most young pups, I was going pretty quick, thinking, oh, man, look at me, I'm producing. And of course I pulled it a little bit far, and when I grabbed that handle for that great big circular saw, it took the end of my thumb. And it hurts when I turn that little screw. So maybe I need to do a little bit of maintenance on my gear here right now, so that I don't have to worry about all these things that are caught. I got a pain in my shoulder, I got a pain in my thumb, and these handles are a pain in the neck. So, put your spoke shave on, and you want to run it nice and flat, okay? Nice and flat along here. So the first thing I do, I square it up. So I'll square my handle again up before I do my corners. Okay, so I'm going to come down, make sure it's a nice, flat, smooth run down the handle. The longer the strokes, the better, okay? And for this one here, make sure your spoke shave isn't taking a lot, okay? You just want to skin off a little bit of that every time you come down here, okay? So it stays nice and flat and true. If you gouge out too much and you got to go back and fix that gouge, you're beat, because again you're going to have a hard time keeping all your lines straight. So now down here at this end, you can see it's curling. Okay, so I'm getting into the grains running the other way, so I've got to start from this end and work back, which isn't the end of the world. And you want to watch your lines, your corner lines on the side, and make sure they're pretty straight when you're doing this, okay? So that way you won't have a lot of correction when you do your sides. Okay, now I can see here there's a little bit of a bump out, and I can take that off when I do the side. So bump outs are easy because you can bring them in when you do the corner. It's wows that come in that you got to take off on this direction, on your flat. So that is pretty flat and pretty smooth right there, okay? So that's one side done. Now again, I'm doing this for a couple reasons. Number one, so you can see why I charge $60 for these things. Because it takes a lot of time and effort. Number two, so you can do it yourself, okay? So if I show you this, try it, okay? If you like and my son actually, the more people use these octagonals, the more I make, okay? Because people really like them. They feel great in your hand. Don't leave your edges too sharp, okay? Another secret on a octagonal handle, don't leave your edges really sharp. Once I get the shape, it doesn't hurt just to sand that, just a smidgen, to make it smooth in your hand. You'll love it. I'll tell you, an octagonal, nothing like an octagonal handle. It's vintage, number one. It fits your hand nice, number two. You can tell when your blade of your axe is upright or not. So, oh, no, so that gouged right there. So I know I've got to go backwards here. And thankfully, it wasn't a deep gouge. Okay, my blade is not cutting squat, so it's almost time to sharpen the blade. Well, it is time to sharpen the blade. Drive me nuts here going back and forth. So anyways, this is an octagonal handle. Octagonal, 8-sided. That's a little bit out a little bit too far, so I'm going to pull this back. The other thing too, when you're taking this off and on, when you put your blade in, it's not always exactly where you think it should be, okay? It's not always where it was maybe before you actually took it out. There we go. Now I've got a little bit of a wow in right here. Son of a biscuit. Okay, that's not bad, because I see why, because I came out a fair bit back to 45 here. But that line there's not great. It's not great. I'm not happy. But I can work with it. I can work with it. So we're gonna carve this side down. So I made my handle relatively fat. So again, this is a vintage handle, so I can bring this side down quite a bit because I made it so fat. So it gives me room to make up for these boo-boos. Okay. So I'm gonna carve a little bit more off here because I want to give myself room on those 4 corners, these corners out here, to make the octagonal so I can straighten them. Okay, this one's going the other way now. Okay, so that's the other thing. So if you, she's driving me nuts. When my grain keeps flipping, so what that means, might have been just a little bit of a peak in my growth rings, okay? So the growth rings aren't perfectly straight, they're just a little bit, and it doesn't take much, okay? It doesn't take much, and the spoke shave will pick it up. So I got to flip my spoke shave back and forth all the time to get these lines straight. So I got to flip it this way here. It's getting pretty nice, so that's going to work. And I'll be able to take that off a little bit here. So you want to make this angle and this angle the same width on both sides of your handle, okay? So I'm going to take it down enough. So I know this here is going to be, and you're going to make it as wide as the deepest gouge in these side pieces, okay? So wherever your blade went in a little bit, you've got to go that deep, okay, to make it true the whole way along your handle. So I better not get a pile more orders of hex handles after this video. That's all I know. I may not offer them anymore. In all honesty, I love making axe handles. Okay, I love doing it. Now this shoulder thing's really been a pain in making these handles lately, which takes a little bit of the fun out of it. And then when stuff like this, hex handles, when they don't go right, that really takes the fun out of it. So I almost avoid them because of that now. So I'm debating even offering them. But they are a beautiful handle, and I know that people like them. So if I had lots of time, which you think a retired guy would have, it wouldn't bother me so bad. But I'm behind, so I'm kind of in I'm in catch-22. I'm behind on handles, so I got to rush a little bit, and then things aren't going well. So that combines to drive you bananas. Really helps a prayer life, though. Lord, keep me sane. Give me patience. Help me not to bust this handle over something I don't want to. Gotta have a sense of humor. So then I do my other side. So I've done these two sides, nice and straight and true. And I look along there, and it's a beautiful straight handle. So I'm starting to feel a little bit better. So now now it's gouging there, so I gotta go backwards. Look at that. Jeez. So I gotta go backwards here, but then I gotta flip this quick and go this way here. Take those gouges out. Okay. So pretty impressed. These videos are watched all over the world. A lot of guys down under watching. People from Europe. So welcome. Good to have you. Good to have you watching. Hope it's helpful. Hope you're learning stuff. That's really encouraging when you get messages saying, "Hey man, that helped me a lot making my handles." That's what it's all about, guys. So there. Use your fingers. That'll tell you. A little bit of a bump there. That must be where I'm swapping, but yeah, it is back and forth between what direction I'm going in. There. Okay. So that side's pretty true. So one more side, and then we go to the corners. Okay, so this side here, it's my last one. We'll see whether the grain runs true here, whether I got to flip-flop all the time. So come off your shoulder. Sweep that in nice. So far, so good. Nope, now it switches right there. And it doesn't go long, it's just right there. And then we're back the other way again here. Jeez. There. So, right here. A little bit rough right here. So wherever you have to flip your spoke shave back and forth, you got to check those because that's where you get differences in the height. So right there was the other one. Okay. There. So now I'm going to do the corners. Okay, now I want to start, look down your corners, So these are the ones you took the corners off, okay? So here's two here. These ones are almost identical, which is really nice. But I know one has got a wow, okay? And that's this side here. And it will be, lift it up a little bit so you can see. Okay, and it's right here. It's this one here. Okay, so that's my deepest wow right here in this corner. So what that means is I got to start on that one. I've got to start on this one, and however deep that goes, when I'm correcting this, so I'm going to flop it the other way. However deep I have to go to make this straight where that deep wow is, that's the angle, that's the width that track here is going to be, and all the other ones have to be the same width, okay? Because you want it uniform. So this is what takes the time. So same thing here. You got to find which way your grain's running. Okay, so that's actually going to be a nice. Okay, so I've caught it up. Let's see if I can show you this, because it's hard to see it. I know because the light's shining the way the light shines on it. Okay, there we go, right there. So there we go, right here. We can see it nice. So the wow is right here. Okay, it was deep. There, deep right there. So I brought this down to be the same depth as this. Now when I start running my spoke shave over it, it'll be the same plane the whole way down through. Okay, so I'm going to carry that up, so I'll show you it here close. So there's the wow. I brought this down. This was a little bit narrower. Now it's the same width. And you see it's wide here, then it goes a little bit narrow here. Narrow right there, that's wide right there again. Then it really jumps in narrow here. See that? So you want to make that all, you want to make it all the same width the whole way down there. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so using your spoke shave, and you got to keep that same angle. So the other wow was up here. I'm going to smooth that out now. See it. So this is the other reason you want to get the straightest grained wood you can find for a hex handle, because when you got to keep flopping, I can make a nice hex handle if I can run that the whole way down without worrying about the grain flipping on me. Okay, now this one's flipping a lot, so this is going to take a little bit more effort to do, but it can be done if we have the patience. Lord, give me patience. Okay, so there's that. Flip it back. Flip it again. Another one of them handles. So this is for Jacob Kim in California. Where's he at? Riverside, California. Jacob, I hope you're watching this video and you're appreciating the pain in the butt this handle has been to make. But it's coming now. It's coming now. A little bit more here. There. A little bit more down here. Now, if you have a gouge, if you're going the wrong way with your grain and you gouge, you know you've got to go back and lower that to take the gouge out. So it's pretty close here. So I'll show you. This is what it looks like now. I'll show you this. So you'll see that these are the bandsaw lines here. Okay, so you can see the bandsaw lines on this bottom one here. Okay, and you got to make that all. So on the top here, you can see they're almost gone. You can see the width of that's almost the same the whole way along here. Because it's gouging a bit, I'm going to leave those last few little lines because this baby will take them out and make it smooth. Okay, without gouging. Because now that I'm almost perfect, if you gouge now, you're beat. You got to go lower. So don't keep going with the spoke shave, okay? Use the tools you have that do a good job. So now what I'll do is I'll just go back and do the other side of this. Okay, so same thing here. Take my spoke shave and I'll start at the top. And what you want to do is make it the same width as this side over here. Okay, so there, that's the same width there. It's about 3/8 of an inch is what it is. Now it's flipping there. flipping all right, driving me flipping bananas. Okay, there that is there. Still going good here. That's good. Okay, so this is nice. When you can run your spoke shape like that, nice and smooth the whole length of it, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. A little bit wider. So I'm looking down here, and it's a little bit wider on this side, so I want to make it a little bit wider here. Let's go a little bit deeper. A little bit more wood off. Oops, shoot, it goes the other way there. Okay. There. So, that's a great, hopefully that, so there it is there, okay? So you can see the width of it here on this one. It's flat here, and there's the other width there. Okay, and all done with the spoke shape. So it's relatively smooth now. So all I got to do now is finish that off with my rasp. Okay, so now I'll just use my rasp, and then what I do, because as you can tell, I didn't get into the big grooves down here at the butt flare or palm swell, so I'll start with this one here and bring that in. So bring your palm swell right on that same angle, bring it in here so it meets nice and smooth, and then keep going up, take all those little lines out. Out there, there's a little bit of a gouge. I took the gouge out, straighten that line, take a few more lines out there. You got to straighten this line right here, right up into the eye, or where your shoulder is, so that side's nice and straight. Okay, now we're going to back to this side. Start here. Same width. And then the same thing the whole way along this, checking that you're the same width and taking all those little lines out. Right up to the top. There we go. So all I need to do now is finish the other 6 sides. So that's what it's looking like. Let's get the light on it here nice for you, if I can do it. Right there. Okay, now there's a little bit of this is the flat part. That was a little bit of a gouge. I'm going to have to clean that out with that. I haven't done the flat yet. But you can see these 2 side lines. Okay, right there. Pretty straight. This one here, a little bit of a wow right there you can see, but I'll straighten that. So once you have all 8 sides done, so they're almost perfectly smooth, then you go back and you look down them, and wherever you get a little bit of a wow, whichever side you have to take that off to make it straight, you do that. Okay, and you finish the handle with this to make your line straight. Okay, your rasp. So that's hex handles from the East Coast Lumberjack shop. Okay, they're a tough handle to make. They're not tough to make if you're not concerned about straight lines. But being anal retentive and a little bit of a perfectionist, I like straight lines if I make you a hex handle. So it takes a lot longer. It takes a lot of effort to get them done right. So California, I hope you appreciate this. This is did give me good content for this week's video. And I'm just about cooled off. So have yourself a great week. We're away. We're going to be away to Europe. We're going to Switzerland first, and then we're going to Milan, Italy for the World Rookie Lumberjack Steel Timber Sports Championships. So I've been coaching a young guy. He's actually coming along pretty darn good. So I'm expecting big things from him. He's looking pretty darn good right now. Just got our blade that we need. So we're all set. And Europe, we're coming over. So if I can get my camera or my whatever this thing's called, iPhone, to work over there, I think I got to get some kind of package or something on it. I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments below what I got to do. But I got to get some kind of way that I can actually film over there. I'd like to do a couple of segments from Switzerland, show you some trees over there and show you what we're up to. Although, you know what, for going over there as lumberjacks, we're always in the city. So you don't get to see a whole lot about the wood. But I'm going to try to do a couple of videos from over in Europe, and I'll post them in the next few weeks, and you can join the fun and adventures of the old East Coast Lumberjack. Anyways, thanks a lot. Tune in next week. See ya.